Good evening. Welcome to this episode of Prophecy for the Last Hour. My name is Liz McGee, and I am the host tonight. I have another exciting show with a lot of meat. That's what I always say, because that's what I feel led to teach, is meat. I've been in church for 35 years, and one day I woke up and I realized this is still a Sunday school story, and I just can't live like that anymore. I have to go deeper, and I did, and so I'm sharing it. But last week, I don't know if I almost have to apologize, I know I talk fast. I talk very fast because I get very excited, and I have a ton of information in 1 hour, and I just feel like I just have to, like a racehorse, just keep running at top speed. But I ended the show last week with a talk about a pomegranate. And I went so fast, and there was so much information that I couldn't share. I wanted to share a little bit more tonight because this little fruit is loaded, not only with seeds, but with parabolic understanding. And I want to unwrap it a little bit more tonight to do justice to the whole subject. But I want to start, it's kind of, this topic, it's going to end a little bit heavy. It's going to end a little bit, So I'm just, I hope you can stick with me through it. And if you've listened to any of my tapes, I want to say, I do these teachings and I load them up onto YouTube. I have a channel. You just put my name in, Liz McGee. So if I do talk too fast, or if you want to listen to past episodes, or if you want to kind of get an understanding of some of the things I'm saying, go to YouTube, put my name in, and the channel will come up, and you can, at your own leisure, and you can stop it and pause it and go back if you didn't hear every word I said as I raced through it. Anyways, it is my belief that Yahushua, HaMashiach, which is the Hebrew way of saying Jesus Christ, was a Nazarene, which we know, right? But it has a little bit of a different meaning than most people perceive. It doesn't really mean, in its Hebraic understanding, that he came from Nazareth. He was a Nazarene. He came from a branch, shall we say, because he is a branch. He's called the offshoot, the branch of Jesse, of people who are called Nazarenes, which later developed into this, where we get this concept of Essene. And then the Essenes, we found all their literature in the Dead Sea Scroll. And as it turns out, they were a huge people group alive at the time of Christ, and they have a huge history, and they are vitally important to the storyline. But one of the things you have to understand, or is that a Nazarene, what it means is these people were the guardians, the keepers of secrets of the old ways. Jesus, as the last king of Israel, was protecting those ways and seeking their restoration. Now, the reason I can say that as a Nazarene, this is, if you know your Old Testament, Samson was a Nazarene. A Nazarene is very akin to a high priest. See, the priesthood of ancient Israel were the keepers of the secrets. They were the keepers of the Torah. God instituted a whole Levitical priesthood, a whole group of people, that a subset of people in Israel who their primary job, their only job, was to keep alive Torah, teach it, make sure every generation got it, and then out of that group to cull those that wanted to be Nazarenes, people who would really go deep. Okay, we're all called to different parts of the body. Not everybody's called to do this, so don't, if you're called to feed the poor, praise the Lord, okay? If you're called to take care of children, take care of children. Everything is needed in this fallen world. Every gift is needed. But being a Nazarene, and this has to go with the Nazarene vow, it has to do with the hair, and and this is all parabolic, and the cutting of the hair, Samson, where he lost his strength. This is all a parabolic way of talking about. I don't want to get too much into this, but what I want to say is it's established, and that the crown, as I'm going to get into, this is a better picture of a pomegranate, and I don't know if you can get a close-up or how well you can see this. This pomegranate that's from the store is its crown, see, it has been broken off. okay? But a pomegranate that has just been freshly gotten will have a crown. It will have these little protrusions coming up that stick on top of its body of seeds. And this is highly parabolic and important to understand. So I want to talk, this is a Hebrew word, a flower blossom, okay? And I'm going to unpack that in a minute. But I want you to understand that when I lift up this pomegranate, it's supposed to have its crown. It doesn't. That the real pomegranates, when they're fresh and right off the tree as they grow, because this is where the flower part is coming up, okay? So this is an understanding, this concept, because this is what I'm all about. I'm trying to unlock the parabolic understanding, because people, we live at the end of the age. It's been prophesied that everything was going to come out in the open. There'll be no more secrets. It's time, and there's a harvest coming, okay? And it's what? A harvest of souls, okay? So in understanding these concepts, these keys, Jesus said, see, I'm not making any of this up. He said, you know, the people can't get it because you've stolen the keys. And what he's referring to is the Levitical priesthood, the people who were supposed to be teaching the people, every generation, the keys to unlock the mysteries. They'd gotten lost and stolen and subterfuged and the whole bit. And the people just didn't have what they need. We're there again today, okay? But he came to restore the keys, and he did give the keys back to his disciples, and that's a lot of the early understanding, which again we've lost. But I read a lot of texts. That's another thing, and I like to see how they collaborate each other. And this is a very important concept, this concept of the keys. It's not, we have a couple verses in our New Testament and in the Old Testament, but it's all over the literature. Okay, the Jewish literature. This is, I want to tell you, this is how a couple of sentences that I found that talked about the parabolic knowledge. It said, in the Lord, because this is something that the Lord did this. This is how God has engineered to communicate to us, one of his ways. The Lord contrived all things symbolically or parabolically, by a dispensation for men for their conversion and salvation. All right, so now, it says in another little sentence here, it says, the contrast, the manifest things of truth, okay? While the hidden things are strong and held in high regard, the mysteries of truth are revealed through type and image, okay? And that's another way of saying it's parabolically couched, okay? Now, and I'm going to go into some of this parabolic hieroglyphic, if you want to say, that was on the temple to demonstrate. The pomegranate was one of the was one of the major motifs on the Temple of Solomon. Why, you have to ask? You mean, you didn't. Okay. Now, in the keys, the concept is, see, truth is very simple, and there's only one truth. But there's many ways of saying it, okay? This is the thing. Another one of the literature, it says here about Jesus or Yahushua. This Jesus that we're preaching is known to you. He's as the brethren. He's known to you, brethren. As the door. Remember, he knocks on the door of your heart. That's one of the parabolic ways. He is the light. He is the light of the world, right? It says in Galilee, in a great light shone, all right? He is the way. He's the way, the truth, and the life. Parabolic. Understand. He is the bread. We're not talking about a whole bunch of different people. We're talking about the same God. What I want you to understand is all the different ways that the same guy is described, and attributes and truths and mysteries and understandings are given to us in type and symbol. I hope you're with me. He is the water of life. I mean, the festivals, you go through on the last Feast of Tabernacles, at the end, the water and light play predominantly in that feast and some of the rituals and things that they do. He is the resurrection, praise the Lord. He is the resurrection. He is the refreshment. Or even in the Samaritan Pentateuch, he's called the relief. He is the pearl. He is the pearl of great price, and he is the treasure. So these are all typologies, all describing the same Yahushua, okay? And it says it the same thing. It says in 2 or 3 witnesses a matter is established. Here it is in another whole text saying basically the same thing. And you have to catch, I'm going to come back to this sentence here, but it says the cross of light, or the Lord, he is the light of the world, is sometimes called the Word. He's sometimes called mind, the mind of Christ. He is sometimes Jesus or Yahushua. He is the Son of Man. He is sometimes the door. He's sometimes the way. He's sometimes bread. He's sometimes seed. He is sometimes resurrection. He's sometimes Son. He's sometimes Father. He's sometimes Spirit, and sometimes life, sometimes truth, sometimes faith, sometimes grace. I mean, these are all attributes. So I hope you understand. You can't, this is part of our problem. Let's get so dogmatic. I mean, let's just be a little more fluid in our understanding and not get so tripped up on, well, he's just the bread of life and we know what the bread means, and our religion, our denomination, we got it down, it's a little more fluid. And we're talking about stuff way bigger. When he's the bread of life, believe me, it's the loaf of bread or the little wafer, you're just talking about a symbol. You're talking about as a pomegranate, okay? Packed with parabolic understanding. So we're after the truth. If you're after the truth, you're after the parabolic understanding, okay? Now, putting all that aside, I want to go back to this whole idea of the pomegranate and what its significance was, and why this is a fruit was chosen to be on the temple walls. And actually it was on 2 places, very important places, okay? One was on the temple, and I'll get to that. One, it was also on, all right, I have so much information, I don't want to get confused here. All right, let's stick with, there are 4 parabolic images on the temple, the ones I'm going to use tonight. There was the pomegranate, there was the cherubim, there is the palm trees, and there is the open flowers, okay? Now, and I'm going to kind of go through each one of those. But let's just start with the cherubim, okay? These are things that Moses, and it started even with in the ark the tabernacle, which was the wilderness typology that they built for their worship and because remember, as above, so below, as a type in heaven, we were told, there's even an Ark of the Covenant of heaven, it says in Revelation. So if it's above, it's below. There is something to mirror. There is a mirror image going on. But in the ark, when Moses made the original ark, he put 2 cherubim. And remember, on the mercy seat, which was laid with gold, they constructed 2 cherubim. Now, cherubim is an angelic order. A race, we can just even stop there. It's a race, it's a species, it's a group or a class of angels, okay? Now this cherubim is interesting because there's seraphim and there's cherubim. There's a lot, the Bible actually speaks of quite different orders of angelic beings, okay? But we'll just stick with those 2. The cherubim, if you remember, starting out in Genesis, it was given a flaming sword to guard the tree of life after the whole episode went down in the garden, because something happened and it was very highly important to protect that tree of life. And so that cherubim was given to protect it and had a flaming sword that was just impenetrable. You couldn't get past this thing. Praise the Lord. Really have a problem. Okay. So you have these 2 cherubim that were made, and so on the temple, and I wanted to get a close-up of this. So this is just a little, pictorial again. Here's a picture. I don't know how you can see. You can buy these. You should go online and Google this stuff. Here's a picture of, this is Herod's temple, all right. But this one, let's go over here to this side. This is Solomon's temple. You can see it written, oh my gosh, up here, okay, Solomon's temple. And if you can't, see, the camera really can't get close enough. If you could look at this right here, this row, it would describe it in the Bible that this row that was carved in the gold is pictures of two cherubim, repeats a pattern of two cherubim with a palm tree in the middle. Okay, so that's in your Bible, that's what's on the walls of the temple. So, again, what's the meaning between two cherubim with a palm tree in the middle? Okay, now these pillars, this is a fascinating study, people. The pillars, which most people don't think they had any utilitarian purpose. They didn't, in terms of ornate, they were really parabolic. Okay, now, and I will unlock what my personal personal interpretation would be of their parabolic nature. But these were also there, and on the top of these were pomegranates. Okay, this is where we get into how the pomegranate was on the capital. These are called capitals, if you remember from Greece. This is a very common architectural schematic used in the ancient world. These things, the tops of them are called capitals, and this is called the stem, the pillar part. They were decorated with a lily crown, a meshwork, and pomegranates. Okay, now why and what is the meaning of all of this? So let's go back to, I want to unpack this idea. The cherubim was a class of angels. And why are two cherubim? Now, the thing that's interesting here, and why you really have to check your translations, you have to be Berean, you really have to work these words. You have to, the best as you can, go back to the Hebrew and try to get back to some of the original meaning and essence of these words, because translations change, and a lot of these words, they really don't, at first glance, give you enough of the meat of the understanding. And if you just blow by it, which most people do, most Gentile Christians do not have a thorough understanding or respect for Torah, for the Old Testament, which is to their detriment. That's a shame. But anyways, this word for open flowers, again, is really a pictorial saying of a crown. Of the crown. I can't seem to get this. Okay, see this up here? It's okay. You don't need to close up on it, but I want you to see that at the top of the pomegranate. Okay, nature is a very interesting, let me just tell you this. Nature didn't make the stuff up. I mean, it's not lying when it's got a crown at the top of it. But this word, it really comes from a word, Strong 6731, and it's translated a plate of gold, a crown of gold. Seriously, people, well, I looked at this today, a lot of the crowns, even European royalty, got pomegranates in their crown shape, okay? I mean, where'd they get it from? Okay, it has to do with, if you look at the word Netzer, which is crown, which is also one of the root words for Nazariteship, okay? Being a Nazarite, meaning you are consecrated. You're wearing a crown of discipleship, of separation. That's why the hair, the idea of dedication, these are words, these are understandings that are all wrapped around this word, okay? The high priest, and I don't have it, but if you could go, just Google online the outfit of the high priest, which was given to Moses, and he decked out Aaron, his brother, in this whole parabolic robe, head to foot, that was parabolic of what was going on. So he had an outer tunic, he had an inner tunic, then he had like an outer tunic, and then they put this breast piece over it, which had an ephod on it. And at the bottom of the feet, or at the hem of this garment, they put pomegranates with bells, rows of pomegranates and bells all around it. Again, why the pomegranate? So, because the high priest robe predates Solomon's temple by hundreds of years. Okay, so this typology is really going way back. But the high priest, who was the original, this is the typology for a Nazarite, is a high priest who could go into the Holy of Holies. Let me tell you what, if you got to go into Holy, you knew some of the mysteries of God firsthand. I mean, that fire would come down and devour that offering. I mean, the high priest saw stuff nobody saw. There's only one high priest in every generation. That's it. Jesus is our high priest. Okay, he's behind the veil. He knows it all. And Oh my gosh, people, there's so much in this. But anyways, in the tunic, the robe, the ephod, the sash, the breastpiece, but he had a turban on his head, and then on the turban, they would place this crown, okay? This crown that's like on the pomegranate, okay, would be placed on the head. And it's a plate of pure gold, and engraved on it, it would say, "Holy to the Lord." Okay, and it sparkled, it blossomed, it shined and it sparkled. It's to show it's open-budded. A lot of the words around, you do other word studies in other places where it's used, this concept of the open-budded crown, okay? This has more to do with, the shape of a crown is circular and it's got protrusions coming off it. Go look at crowns online, okay? Aaron's rod that budded, okay, because the idea is it buds, a crown buds. Aaron's rod blossomed and it produced almonds, and that was one of the signs that God did to show he's the high priest. He's my guy. I picked him, and the rest of Israel, there was a lot of grumbling. Oh, why does Aaron get to get all this special treatment and special understanding? It's because God chose him. So whatever, you argue with the Almighty. But and so God did this kind of little demonstration with Aaron's rod that budded, okay, to show that he had the right, he had the crown. It was gold, it was shiny. Also, there's an interesting little, this idea of having the shine and the sparkle of gold. The word, and a cherubim, they were in gold and they sparkled and shined. That is light. This really is one of the typologies of orders of angels. The Nakash, for people who have unlocked it, was an angelic order, or fallen, but whatever, became, he's burnished gold. The light, okay? But I shouldn't go over there, that's getting off. But anyways, and the crown, and one of this is why we don't understand the slaps in the face that Satan would just do to the Lord constantly. When they put a crown of thorns on his head, versus the crown, he is a lily. A lily, if you look at the buds, the way that comes up, this is the same shape, same typology of the crown that's on a pomegranate. This crown that comes up like that, of the lily. He was a lily among thorns. I mean, and I can't even unpack what those words mean, but the fact they put a crown of thorns was such a dig, because a thorn is a bramble, is a weed, is a tear. He's not the king of the tares, hello. He's the king of the lily. He's the king of, he's the lily of the valley. Anyway, so I hope you're seeing these things all the time. And these guys, they knew this language. See, it's a language. We don't know it today, but we need to know it. Because I'll tell you what, our enemy is strutting his esoteric understanding. Believe me, you go to any movie, watch any TV show, read any book today, and he is totally flaunting esoteric understanding before you and considering and believing you're just a blind, dumb sheep. And for the most part, I'm sorry, fit the bill. But anyways, so that's his knowledge about the crown with this open flowers, okay, is representing this crown that is on the head, the mind, and then you get into, oh gosh, the whole cerebral thing. Anyways, we can't go there. Okay, now, the palm tree. Okay, so the cherubim, the flowers, the palm trees. Now, a palm tree. Now, I want to tell you this. You don't have to agree with me. It's a free country. I don't care. You do your own research, whatever. We all stand approved before God. I feel peace in my heart. I feel I am approved before God. Okay, so whatever. I'll take my lumps. But the palm trees, I've done a little study. I haven't really come out and totally unpacked yet, and I'm gearly warming up to it, the concept of trees parabolically in the Bible, because I'll tell you what, right now, there were 2 trees in the garden. Highly parabolic. We're not talking about trees, people. We are talking about what trees represent, and I've said this, trees represent people, tree represents people, and trees like a whole people group, okay? When Israel came out of the land, or out of Egypt, and they crossed the Red Sea, or the Reed Sea, they crossed, okay, and then they came into the wilderness, and they wandered, and one of their first stopping places was this place called Elim, E-L-I-M, okay? Elim, there's most of my notes on Elim. It is the 70. Okay, well, what you have to understand, and so you just have to look at everything. It's just, God is so consistent in his typology. It says there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees in this place of Elim. If you unpack the word Elim, it means oaks of the desert, or this word terebinth. It means trees of the desert, okay? Now, I want to tell you what the code word. Desert means is like the wilderness. You're just kind of like we are right now in this planet. We're in the wilderness, people. We are certainly not in paradise. We are certainly not in heaven. We're in this place called the wilderness. It's just dry and life. It's not really even though it might look all pretty compared to what paradise really is. There's no comparison. These 70 palm trees, the word 12 in Hebrew, and I've unlocked this before because this is the typology, the 12 tribes of Israel, the way you say that in Hebrew is 2 and 10, which right there God is saying in the whole story, he's got 10 tribes over here and he's always got 2 tribes here, which is always the house of Israel and the house of Judah. 2 tribes and 10 tribes. See, this is just amazing to me. He is so consistent. So even in Hebrew, the way the word 12 is written, 12 springs. Springs means parabolically understanding. Okay, a vein, a root. You get a spring of water and it gives life and it flows. Things that are like in the desert, you're parched, you can't breathe. You hit a spring of water and man, it is an oasis. Things can grow and it's just beautiful and it's okay to hang out in an oasis, in a desert, in an oasis where there's springs. The 12 tribes, and of their understanding when they got Torah, they're like this understanding, this is the spring of water. That's refreshing everyone if they would come to it. Okay, you just come and drink of it. It's free. And the internet today, it's just absolutely free, and all of it, whatever. But the 70 palm trees, this is more interesting because it's my belief, the 70 palm trees represents, because there's a parabolic understanding here, because trees are huge in the Bible. After Noah, the whole thing went down in the flood, and he came out of the flood with his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They repopulated the whole earth, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, right? Call this to table of nations. 70 nations are absolutely, and I have a little, I wonder if you can do this. You don't have to come to it now, a little cheat sheet. Google it. Just come up with your table of nations, okay? The people groups that came out of Shem, that came out of Ham, and that came out of Japheth. Listen, it was only until the 19th century, people, only in the last 120, 150 years has so much of this understanding been taken from us. We have been so dumbed down, it's just incomprehensible to me. And now we just go to the circus. We live just like they were in the circus. About games and movies, and they just, oh my gosh, most people live at the level of the circus, okay? Pure entertainment, okay? Well, see where that's going to get you. Anyways, this idea of the 70 palm trees represents the 70 nations, okay? Okay, so they're in the wilderness now, amidst 12 little tribes are in the wilderness now in the midst of the nations, okay? But he's bringing them somewhere. What I want you to see was so interesting, and I have to throw this out there because I'm going to post this on 2 of my friends' sites on Facebook and YouTube, unpacking the keys also. But if you look at it, there were 3 times in the literature, the Israelites crossed a body of water miraculously. Okay, that was really stopping their forward movement. At the Exodus, when they had crossed the Red Sea, when the Egyptians were just about ready to, just come and do genocide on them, and God parted the sea. Okay, then the second time when Joshua crossed the Jordan, when they had